Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special evening planned for you tonight. We have Kate Hart on the left and Gretchen Snell on the right. And we've spoken to these ladies about a month ago about the healing nature of bioacoustics, I believe. And tonight we're going to delve a little deeper into, Kate was just mentioning diurnal beats. And what my interest is tonight is to get to the science of any of the scientific studies you've done and some of the clinical trials or whatever, and what actually it is this music or the frequency is doing. And do you know if it's the rhythm or the frequency or what is it? But before we start, let me just introduce both of you. Kate on the left. You might know Kate from two of her YouTube channels, Kate Hart and Kate Hart. They're both named the same. I know it's confusing, but she also has something to do with Therapeutic soundedwellness.com. And we all know her as the Radical Gardener, and she has a website here, radicalgardener.net. And Gretchen, also Michigan voiceover talent. So she is a Renaissance woman, apparently. Now, Gretchen is an author as well as a doctor, a naturopath, I believe. And her book, The Power of Vibrational Medicine, is selling right here for $9.99 on Amazon. And you can also find her at naturalpathconsulting.com. So that's a lot. And maybe we'll plug your website where you sell the audio later when we get to that, Kate. But it's a pleasure to have you both on the show. How have you been for the last month?
Yeah, really good. I've been gardening.
Gretchen?
Yep, everything's been great. Finally, summer here.
Awesome. So let's dive right in. Kate, you had kind of a blueprint of where we're going to go this month. So why don't you just give us an introduction of where you want to go, and maybe you could touch on some of the points of interest that I mentioned in the opening.
Yeah, one of the things I want to make really clear about what we found, why this music was so effective, is not only the scale and where we tuned it to, and we tuned it to the 7.83, the Schumann frequency. We built a musical scale out of that. But what was even more important than that is that the human voice is what was involved. So I sang every single note, and then I sang each note 12 times, creating a field of harmonics, a very deep field of harmonics. So it's the harmonics that are really friendly to the ear. They're beautiful, they're rich, and it's that vibration between the
You froze up a little bit there, Kate. You said it's the vibration between and you're still frozen. There you are. You're back.
So when you sing a note 12 times or 10 times or 3 times or whatever, it's a ringing happens between those notes, and that's your harmonics. You can get it just when you pluck a guitar string and you hear that ring. That's the harmonics. The harmonics are key. So that's why an electronic tone, say that's generated by a computer, has very little value when it comes to healing, because there's no harmonics. But not only that, there's no human voice involved. So a guitar would be helpful, but a human voice is even more significant. And these studies were done by Alfred Tomatis, who was kind of a Steiner guy, but way back, and he started out as an opera singer and really coaching opera singers. And he found that it was really the connection between, for example, let me back up and just simplify this, is that when they found that people that were musical or that could sing or wanted to sing were usually sung to by the mother when they were in the womb. So the significance of hearing that voice, even when embryo, is really important. So that's what we found, is that when the human voice was involved, it was much more significant. So in the book, the Tao of, is it the Tao of Sound, Gretchen?
Yes.
The Tao of Sound, I think Gretchen says, page 28. They did a study where they were using sound to affect cancer, to diminish the cancer cells. Well, anyways, they used a particular tone. Well, it was only effective if the human voice sang that tone. So we were finding the same thing. It was creating this, it was really creating a rate of coherence that you don't normally get right away. And we know it was through the harmonics and the voice.
So let me jump in here and let me throw something in, because if you're talking about the human voice and harmonics, I immediately scientifically go to Gregorian chant as the initiation of this type of music. And then I think to the megalithic structures and some of the chambers in the Great Pyramids and other temples that have similar, very unique resonances. And then
That's it.
Just to be a human on Earth, we've all been in that truck stop bathroom or that place where if you hum the right note, it's overwhelming. And that's the resonance we're talking about. And also, let me also chime in here that Hasim somebody, whatever his name is, he started something called the Resonance Project, where he believes that everything has a vibrational pattern. So in his universe, everything is vibration. But you and I, both of us, all three of us, I'm sure, know that that's true. That statement is true. So, Gretchen, do you want to extrapolate on the conversation?
Well, a couple key things when you said about resonance in the chambers, that's huge because it's the harmonics. You know, you get the same sort of thing if you've ever heard the crystal bowls or the Tibetan bowls. Kate has a couple of really ancient Tibetan bowls that have this incredible, I mean, you feel it in your whole body. And what we found was when she was creating this and we were running the tests before we even had the compilation, we were really, that's it. When we were really building what was called a bioacoustic homochord. You said you wanted to get in the science, so I'm going to give you some science. So in homeopathy, we use attenuated substances, and most, well, I shouldn't say most, but many of my cases that I get where people have been stuck really get movement from homochords, which are homeopathics that are different frequencies. So they're not only different frequencies, but they're different potencies, parts per million, parts per trillion, or picograms, femtograms, whatever you want to say. And so what was happening with these, when we started, especially with the Schumann resonance, I really noticed that because that just knocked people flat. I mean, not in a bad way, in a good way, was to take the frequency, the 7.83, and to build that, to double it and triple it and quadruple it. We also found out that the colors, the frequencies of certain sounds and notes, when you get them at a high enough octave, they're exact mirrors to the frequency of colors. So a lot of times what we would consider vibration isn't just sound. It affects us through smell and taste and sight and through all different, because we're multidimensional and we have different bodies, and our energy bodies absorb and reflect things differently. So when I ran different tests to analyze what we were getting, I was looking at things like heart rate variability and autonomic nervous system coherence, because we already know from scientific data that's been produced by the Institute of Heart Math for over 25 years, that if you can get somebody into, or if they can get themselves into a state of physiological and psychological type of coherence, that all the other systems in the body come
into balance. And you just froze up, Gretchen, and I finished your sentence. Was I correct there?
Okay, good.
And so you come into balance. And now, Kate, you actually went into the recording studio and layered these sounds, your voice. And I was wondering, because I was listening to some tracks, and I'm like, that sounds like Kate. I wonder if it's her. In an eerie way, because Sayonic 3, for instance, is a very eerie Kate Hart. So you layered these like 9, 10, 11, 12 times. You said some numbers like that. Is there a reason why? Is there a certain number? Do we need a certain amount of layering to achieve this? And so to be clear, if you're listening, before you jump in, Kate, I just want to simplify it for the listener that may not know heart math and coherence, is that heart math and the Heart Math Institute, it's a simple breathing type exercise where you're breathing in and out at the same interval in a calm, relaxed position, where you can bring your body into a coherent state. And just like cannabis oil can bring your immune system into homeostasis, the coherence in the body also is very beneficial to the immune system and to healing, apparently. Now, these two women have found scientifically that simply by creating harmonics in music and sound therapy, you could sit in a room and listen to this and get that same type of coherence effect that the Heart Math Institute has proven exists. Is that correct, Kate, in how I'm putting that together? Kate, are you with us?
Okay, so in answer to why I would choose singing notes 12 times and going to this harmonic thing, that was really an intuitive knowing. I wanted to stay within like sacred geometry, so I would sing it 3, 6, 9, 12, and so I landed on 12, and I really let my ear guide me and how I felt. And when I would sing the notes 12 times, something really special would happen in my body, and my whole body would just ring. So I just really went with the physical piece of it for me, the intuitive piece. So Gretchen can answer in regards to the heart math, right, Gretchen?
Yeah. Yes, and what your analysis is correct, Diamond. That was the tool that we used to analyze. So yes, we were able to find that in all the participants. But the other thing about this study that was truly unique is that I was looking at the energy body through the assessment of the Meridian system. Now, there's an analytical tool that I use that looks at the energy individually through the meridians. It's not biofeedback, and it's not those kind of things that you strap on your wrist. This has probably this type of technique has, or technology has probably 42 different scientific studies done on it by credible doctors. It's looking at every different meridian in the body. So I was able to assess while we were building this in the initial phases, how does this particular pitch or frequency or group of frequencies, how does it affect the heart meridian? How does it affect the liver? How does it affect the endocrine system? So we were able to do that as part of the research in order to build the final compilation.
So are the meridians the same as the chakras? And is this machine like an EK?
No.
Oh, okay. So can you describe the difference?
No. The meridians are systems, they're energy lines that run through the body. They're what the acupuncturists use when they use needles. And the Native Americans would call them rivers of light, and they would do the same thing, manipulate the energy. So this takes a probe and assesses the electromagnetic field that's running through the meridians, and from there you can infer what's happening in the organs and the tissues of the meridians that run through through the body.
That's fascinating. Now, Kate, how are the two of you corroborating to bring this to market, so to speak, to bring this to the masses? Is there an ongoing collaboration? Are you just producing tracks that you've already produced? Are there studies that are happening?
Well, we've got stopped in our tracks because of madness for the last year. So, couldn't even bring people into her facility because she's in Michigan, and Michigan was one of the states that was really shut down. Yeah. So anyways, so we really couldn't move forward, but we definitely want to use it in regards to veterans, people that have had a lot of trauma, because this really does quiet the mind, quiets the nervous system. And I'll have Gretchen talk about the importance of sleep. And I mean, I use it all the time. If for some reason I can't sleep, I put it on, I go right to sleep. And may I add that I use this. My husband passed away last year, and he had cancer, and we managed his pain with this music. And so, if he started to go into crisis and pain, I would play this music 2 or 3 times, and the pain would dissipate. And when he couldn't sleep, I would put the music on, and he would go to sleep. So I know it works. I've seen it in action.
And are we talking about the Sayonic 3 track specifically, or any track?
Yeah, Sayonic 3. Now, I have a whole body of work that I did but the reason we're talking about Sayonic 3 is because really it's kind of the most universal in use. It's, it's the one that is, because some of this music's really strong. I have one called Transformation that is very strong, and it's not for everybody. So you have to be careful what you're asking people to listen to, because this music is just like giving them medicine. I mean, it's very, very powerful. So we're careful with it. And Sayonic is the one that is kind of the great equalizer. People sleep, they calm down. You can play it in the background. It doesn't, wig you out. You can have it on during the day, which it just continues to create balance, or you can sit with it quietly and then go to sleep with it. So, and that's the one we did the study on, but we'd like to continue with the other music and use it in, where people are really in crisis.
Gretchen?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Do you have anything to add, Gretchen?
I forgot what his original question was.
Well,
what our plans are.
Yeah, can you extrapolate where you're going to move forward with this now? You were just interjecting about the virus happening and everything shutting down. It seems to me like people could easily contact you through your website and get some type of counseling and pointed in the right direction simply using the internet.
Yeah, Yes, that's correct. And, I have a private practice where I work with that. But our goal was to work with PTSD and trauma, because in the study, we found that all of the participants slept, which was huge. I think I mentioned this last time that, sleep deprivation is a torture for a reason. And nobody is sleeping right now. And what I found with even the veterans, in particular, a number of Vietnam veterans that I've worked with, these guys haven't slept in years. I mean, years, because of the trauma. And so if I can just get somebody to sleep better. When we did, there were a number of participants that had pain, that found great relief from pain, or their pain reduced. And the crazy thing was, the one participant that we had that I thought, well, we're not going to really see anything on her, because she was on, I think, 11 different pharmacological medicines. I thought, wow, we're never going to see anything. But I saw radical changes in her EAV, in her the the testing of the meridians. And when I talked to her, she said, I don't know what's happening, but my pain's dissipating. Now, if you went in for regular tests, blood tests, EKG, you're probably not going to see any of that reflected. And that's a point that I make in the second book, Wings of Light, Feet of Clay, because we have a whole different, we have an entire dimension of man that is completely being dismissed. And quite frankly, anybody who addresses it is being denigrated. We have a joke that I'm, the witch doctor of tree bark, but it where where how do I say this? Where people are falling through the cracks of Western medicine. It's high time that we look at the alternatives that are clearly causing healing. And this compilation that we completed clearly is causing healing.
Well, I couldn't agree more that there are so many alternative medicines that are responsible for healing modalities across the broad spectrum of disease. And the mainstream is ever more trying to suppress this knowledge. Even simple ancient herbal remedies that people are trying to teach others about are being blocked on certain social media settings. I mean, I did a video years ago on certain vitamin Bs that may help with cancers, and I did a video on how to make a simple tincture from opium lettuce, and both of them are age restricted and demonetized and they're certainly not shared because they just don't want this type of free information to get out there, which can help. I mean, think about this. This information that we're sharing can help millions upon millions of people currently. Kate?
Right. And part of what I do in the summertime is with people locally is I take them on walks and I point out and show them the weeds that are growing that are medicine. Yeah. So even if they can't get to a pharmacy or they can't get their hands on herbal medicine, I mean, like the prepared herbal medicines, my students know how to go in their backyard and grab things that are growing for heart issues, for kidney and liver issues, for immune function, all things that are outside your back door. One of my teachings, the Native Americans say that your most potent medicines are outside your front door. So I teach my students, look in the spring, what is growing wild in your yard or in your area, because chances are really great that you or someone in your family is going to need those. And if people know how to harvest them, what part is medicinal and how to make it, then nobody can take that power away from you.
You have anything to add, Kate?
Well, the application of this music, and I had some dentists that took it on, so people would listen to Sayonic through the headphones when the dentist was working on them, and some really wonderful things would happen. People's recovery was almost instantaneous. There was very little discomfort, very little pain. So that's just one application that this music can be significant. Or I have some massage therapists that use it. Well, they find that their work really improves, but not only does their work improve for the practitioner, but the person that they're working on is more relaxed. They can work in a much deeper way. So just getting it to the practitioners, and what I would love in a perfect world, wouldn't it be great if you played it overhead through the speakers in a hospital waiting room or in a doctor's waiting room, and they could be healing while they're sitting there waiting to see a doctor. I mean, there's such easy applications for this because it's music.
Well, and certainly it will be fought from the highest levels from the pharmaceutical industry, because they certainly don't want people walking out of the waiting room being healed as they wait to see the doctor. But by us simply making this podcast, it's everyone's individual duty now listening to us. If they know people that have problems sleeping or with chronic pain or with any ailment, to try it out. It's free over on Kate's YouTube channel to find the track. All you have to do is play it on loop and see what's happening. And if you get results and you want to delve into it further, you can always talk with Dr. Gretchen Snell and maybe delve a little further into the healing modality. Now, where do you guys see this moving into the future? I know you think it has its most practical application with PTSD and other trauma patients. But in general, like Kate, you haven't copyrighted this music. You're not charging for it. What's in it for you?
Well, I train people to do therapeutic sound. So, and I'm set up now where I can actually do that online. And so where people can actually not only heal themselves, but I'm training them so that they can work on others. So even if they just want to work on family members or what have you, and I've brought it so that it's a 6-week course. So I think it's, I know as a musician, you don't make any money from your CDs unless you're out touring and you're selling them off the stage. I mean, I had 40 years of that, but so why not just give it away when I'm going to make pennies on every CD and get it out to the people? But what I would like to do is I would like to really improve their quality of life and train them, show them how to use sound, how to buy a few tools so that they can implement it in their own life and use it on their loved ones, or they too can practice therapeutic sound and start their own business doing it.
And that's the thing, is that's the thing, is it can augment so many other therapies, whether they're conventional or alternative. Yep.
Thank you. I think just because it's easy doesn't, a lot of people think because it's so simple, it's just music, that it couldn't possibly work. Yeah. And you have to forget that. It's not like, something you hear on the radio. This music was really, it was 10 years of study and work on my part, and I have to say that a lot of this came through me. It came from somewhere above my hair and came through me, and I knew what the next thing was to do, so I'm really proud of this. I think it's probably the most important thing that I've ever done, and the fact that it's so simple to use. And even Gretchen and I talk about it. Sometimes I'll be uncomfortable or in pain, and I forget to listen to my own music. I get it. But it's so simple. Just put it on, you'll feel better.
Awesome. Gretchen?
We made this free and available to everybody because of an offering, because of a philosophy that Kate and I share. We believe, we don't so much believe in systems, but we believe in people. And we believe that people have the power to make an immense change and an immense impact on the healing of the health of humanity and the entire collective of the earth. But we also know that involves responsibility to start with yourself. And if everybody takes responsibility, and this is a cheap, inexpensive way, that's redundant, but regardless of race, creed, color, political beliefs, this speaks to everybody, and it gives them an opportunity to focus inward, to center, to ground, to balance, to find some type of coherence so that they can bring coherence to the rest of their life.
Awesome. And plus you can stick your foot up the ass of the pharmaceutical industry if it works. If simply listening to a
No, thank you. I like my shoes. Thank you.
if simply listening to a music track can heal you, can make you sleep, and can make your life better, why not try it out? We're going to have the links below to Sayonic 3. If you want to check out Kate Hart, she's at Kate Hart Voice, Michigan Voiceover Talent, katehart.org or whatever, and thousands of other places, which will be linked below. And Gretchen Snell is at naturalpathconsulting.com. All the links will be below. So check out our two guests' links and support the channel, support these wonderful women and the work they're doing with sound healing, vibrational medicine. It's a pleasure to talk to you, and let's do this again soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And I want to say one last thing is that I do Tibetan throat singing. So anybody wants to learn how to do that, just let me know.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure. Have a great night, ladies.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.